Good morning, great, or let me say good day, great student of A Plus Model Schools, Opetumodo, Osun State. My name is Taylor S.Adebayo, and I will be your biology tutor for today. And today we'll be talking about microorganisms in action. Microorganisms in actions. And under this topic, we have a series of things we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss the growth of microorganisms, how microorganism grows, ways of measuring the growth of microorganisms, how do we measure the population of microorganisms, beneficial effects in nature and medicine and industry. That means the microorganism benefit to nature, to medicine and industries. We're also going to talk about the harmful effect of some microbes, the harmful effects that some microorganism causes to human being or to the general population at large. Now, before we forge forward, there is a necessity for us to talk about the definition of microorganisms. At least we need to know what we're talking about, what microorganism really means. And microorganisms are very small living things which are normally not visible to the naked eye, but can be seen with the help of a microscope. Microorganisms, they are very small living things which are normally not visible to the naked eye, but can be seen with the help of microscope. That means almost all the microorganisms that we have can only be seen with the help of microorganisms. With the help of microscopes, sorry. We can only use microscope to view or to see microorganisms. I think as I'm talking now, some things will have been popping up in your mind. You should have been thinking about things that you cannot see in your eye with your naked eyes, which are living things. So as we continue with this topic, we'll see more interesting things about these microorganisms. Now, let's talk about the types of microorganisms, the types of microorganisms that we have. All viruses are microorganisms. All viruses are microorganisms like e.g. poliovirus, smallpox virus, even the ones that is happening now that has caused pandemic, this COVID-19, we call it coronavirus. It's also a microorganism. You cannot see it with your naked eyes. Another one is all bacteria. All bacteria, we have salmonella, we have clostridium, we have treponema, we have Escherichia coli, etc. All these are microorganisms. All protozoans too, they are microorganisms. All protozoans are like thread-like microorganisms. They look like thread. They are thread-like. We have the Plasmodium, we have Trypanosoma, etc. All these are microorganisms. We have some fungi too. Some fungi too are microorganisms, but not all fungi. There are some fungi that are microorganisms. We have the rhizopus, which is the mold. We have the yeast. We have the Saccharomycetes. All these, they are what? They are microorganisms. You have the some algae too. Sorry. Some algae, there should be a space in between. Some algae too are microorganisms. We have the diatoms, we have the dinoflagellates, etc. Some blue-green algae too, they are also microorganisms which did not stock. So all these are examples of some, let me say, types of microorganisms that we have. Now let's note this. Microorganisms live everywhere. They are very available in any area that you find yourself. They live in almost everywhere. Microorganisms live everywhere, in water, they live in air, they live in soil, they live inside and outside of the plants and animals, including human beings. Yes, we have microorganisms inside our body. There are some microorganisms inside our stomach that helps us to break down the food that we take in. We'll still talk about that later. Now, there are many more microorganisms than visible plants and animals in the world. Is that not amazing? We have more of microorganisms than the plant and animal in the world. The only reason they are not disturbing us that much is because we cannot see it with our eyes. I think we can see it with our eyes, or they are something big. Maybe they have been occupying the earth space with us. But thank God for that. There are many more microorganisms that are visible, that are more abundant, or there are many more microorganisms than visible plant and animal in the world. That is what I just explained. Then the next one, they may have beneficial or harmful effects. Yeah, they can pose as being beneficial to us, or they can be harmful to us, like this of coronavirus. It's very harmful to us. But let's talk about the microorganisms that is inside our body system. That one, some of them, they are beneficial to us because they help us to break down the foods that we take in. Microorganisms that can cause diseases are referred to as pathogen. Note that microorganisms that are capable of causing disease, you refer to them as what? Pathogen, and are usually parasitic. What is the meaning of parasite? That is any living organism that depends on other living organism, and being depending on that living organism cause a kind of danger to that living organism. So those are parasites. So they are almost all of them, they are usually parasitic in nature. And this is an example of an anthrax bacteria. You can see the picture. You can only view this under a good microscope. A good microscope. You cannot just see it with your naked eyes. And almost all these anthrax bacteria, they are almost everywhere. But you won't see them unless you use a microscope. Now let's talk about the growth of microorganisms. Growth of microorganisms. Under this, we will be talking about some words I will need to explain so that you can understand very well. Culturing is the growing of microorganism prepared media in the laboratory. That means when you are preparing a kind of, or you are rearing a microorganism, you can also rear them. When you want to produce a microorganism in the laboratory, refers to them as culture. It can also be said as the propagation of microorganism in a growth medium. The propagation of a microorganism in a growth medium. Now another one is the prepared medium is called the culture medium. So when you prepare this medium, you call it culture medium. Bacteria, fungi, and algae grow easily in test tubes. They can easily grow easily in test tubes, flask, or petri dishes, or culture media. Petri dishes is like a shallow transparent lidded dish. It's like a dish, but it's very shallow, and it is used by biologists to culture cells or to culture microorganisms. I think you understand that. Then virus, on the other hand, virus doesn't need to be in a test tube or in a flask or a petri dishes to grow, but they can grow and multiply inside living cells. That means they need a living cells for them to what? For them to grow. So they cannot be grown in a culture medium. You cannot culture a virus, but they can grow or multiply in a living cell, and that's why you see that most of the diseases that are terminal, that kills human beings, most of them, they are virus. See this coronavirus, they grow inside living organism, which is human. See the HIV virus, they grow inside human being, which is a living cell. Now, still continuation on growth of microorganisms. Microorganisms are able to increase in size and multiply in number of cells. Yes, they can increase in size. They are very prolific. They increase rapidly. The microorganisms are able to increase in size and multiply in number of cells. The growth of microorganisms is measured based on increase in population size rather than increase in size. Yes, it's the population that you calculate. You don't calculate the cell size. So you can measure the growth of a microorganism by what? The population size rather than what? Increase in size. Sorry. Under favorable conditions, food, adequate temperature, and humidity, microorganisms reproduce asexually. Yes, their reproduction is asexual, and that's why they can reproduce very fast by binary fission. They can reproduce every 30 minutes. This Escherichia coli can divide every 30 minutes, and when they divide, that means they are reproducing. They fuse together through binary fission and they reproduce. So the microorganisms, most of them, they are what? They are very, very, the reason why they are very many in nature is because they reproduce through asexual means, which is binary fission. And see this Escherichia coli divide every 30 minutes. Imagine how many divisions it will have made in 24 hours. Now let's talk about the method that are used to measure the growth of microorganisms. Methods used to measure the growth of microorganisms. The first method this involves inoculating a bacterial sample into a nutrient broth. A nutrient broth is a kind of a broth that nutrients are being stored. So when you put this microorganism inside, as the bacterial population increases, the clear liquid medium becomes cloudy. That means when the clear liquid medium in the nutrient broth becomes somehow cloudy or turbid, that indicates that there is population increase in the microorganisms or in the culturing medium. And turbidity can be measured using a spectrophotometer. It can be used by a spectrophotometer. Thus, by measuring the turbidity of a bacterial culture in nutrient broth at regular intervals, the growth of a bacterial population can be measured. I believe that is well understood. Now, the second method, this involves taking small samples of bacteria from a nutrient broth at regular intervals of time and diluting the samples several times. Imagine you take a small samples of bacteria from a nutrient broth at regular intervals of time and dilute it with what? With the samples several times. When you do this over and over again, this is another method of calculating or measuring the population of a microorganism. Each diluted sample is then inoculated into a nutrient agar medium in a petri dish and incubated. So that's the second method for this. The continuation of the second method, the number of colonies formed in each petri dish is counted, and this indicates the number of living bacterial cells in the diluted sample. I believe you should understand that there will be a small table that will be attached to this slide that makes you to understand more of this. From this, the actual number of bacteria in the original sample can be calculated. So that's how you can calculate the population or the measure of growth of, or the way you can measure the growth of a microorganisms. So this brings us to the end of the first subtopic. And after this topic, I believe you should be able to measure 5 microorganisms easily. You should be able to mention them. You can mention virus, bacteria, etc., etc. How is the growth of microorganisms measured? I think that's what we just discussed, ways in which how we can measure the growth of microorganisms. Describe 2 ways of growing microbes in the laboratory. I believe we did do that under the method 1. Now we'll be moving to another subtopic. Sorry, don't mind that topic there. It should be a subtopic 2. Subtopic 2, beneficial effects. Subtopic 2, beneficial effect of microorganisms. What are the benefits that microorganism gives to human being? The benefits of microorganisms. Bacteria in the large intestine of man synthesize vitamin K that is needed. Imagine. At the early stage of this lesson, I told you that we have some microorganisms inside our stomach, which is bacteria, and it helps us to synthesize. That means the production of vitamin K. What does vitamin K do to us? It helps with bone health. It helps us for wound healing. It helps us to clot our blood. So imagine, bacteria in the large intestines of a man synthesize vitamin K that is needed. Another one is yeast. Yeast are used in baking and preparation of alcoholic drinks. Almost the alcoholic drinks that we used to take, it is being baked, or yeast is being used to bake and prepare all these alcoholic drinks. Yeast are an important source of vitamin B. They are also an important source of vitamin. What does vitamin B do to it? It helps us to promote and support our cells. It builds blocks of a healthy body. So all these are the function of vitamin B. You can see how significant or how important yeast is to human being. Some bacteria are used in curdling of milk, brewing of wine, and in butter and cheese making. Imagine, some bacteria are used in curdling of milk, brewing of wine, and in butter and cheese making. It is used in the production of antibiotics, e.g. penicillin, from the mold called Penicillium. So it is used in the production of antibiotics, e.g. penicillin, from the mold called Penicillium. The beneficial effects of microorganisms. We stay on that. Saprophytic microorganisms decompose sewage into harmless inorganic compound. Imagine, they help us to decompose all our refuse dump. They help us to make them more or less harmful to us. So they make sewage harmless inorganic compound. That's the work of microorganisms. Another one is most decomposers are microorganisms. Yes, most decomposers are microorganisms. Decomposers are organisms that are capable of decomposing any component. They can decompose our food, human body. If you notice that if you bury a human being and you have to dig up that human being, maybe like after 10 years, you will not see anything again other than bones. It's the work of decomposer that have decomposed the body of that human being. Even if you kill a rat, drop a rat at a distance to your house. When you kill it inside your house, drop it at a distance to your house and go to that place, or you bury the rat and go maybe after like 7 or 8 days, you notice that the rat will be decomposing already. It's the work of decomposers. They help us to decompose our bodies to make them more, or to use them as a fertile way of maintaining our soil. So most decomposers are microorganisms, and they help to maintain the soil fertility. They help us to maintain our soil fertility. So another one is some bacteria living in the rumen of ruminants like sheep, goats, cattle help to digest cellulose in their food. Most of the grasses that these ruminant animals take, they are high fabric in nature. They have high fiber. So it is microorganisms that helps some bacteria in the rumen of this animal that helps to digest the cellulose in their food, like grasses vegetation. Another one, microorganism helps in maintaining some cycles in nature, like nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle is the work of microorganisms. They also help in recycling phosphate and sulfate. So these are the diagram of some bacteria. You can see this is bacterium showing flagellum. Flagellum, that means let me say a part that it can use to move, a part that can use to migrate, or that can use to transport itself. That's mean of flagella. So bacterium showing flagella. This is a cholera bacterium. This, when they tell you in the hospital that someone has bacteria, this is the type of bacteria. This is the type of bacteria that is affecting or that has attacked that kind of person. This is cholera bacterium. This is streptococcus bacteria. Streptococcus bacteria. You can see how it is. Streptococcus bacteria. This is a spirochete. A spirochete. You can see it like a worm or like a snake. This is a spirochete. Now, let's talk after discussing all these bacteria within microorganisms, ways you can measure the population growth of microorganisms. Let me see if I can give you an assignment on that. These 3 parts, sorry, this is an error. This is an error. Please disregard this. Sorry. Yes, thank you. Disregard the last slide. Disregard it, is an error. Now, harmful effect of this is the subtopic 3. We're taking the subtopic 3. Harmful effect of microorganisms. Harmful effect of microorganisms. Let's see most of the effects that microorganisms causes the nature in general. Most diseases in animal and plant are caused by microorganisms, especially bacteria, viruses, and protozoans. Most diseases in animal and plant are caused by microorganisms, especially bacteria, viruses, and protozoans. Most diseases, I'm taking that again, most diseases in animal and plant, that means almost all diseases that we have in plants and animals, it is being caused by microorganisms. We can see this pandemic, coronavirus, everybody is dying due to this disease, so it's caused by microorganisms. Huge amount of food are spoiled annually by saprophytic fungi and bacteria. Yes, most of, even if you put your food on your table and you refuse to touch that food for like 2 or 3 days, you will see that food decide to bring out some kind of mucus or fungi. It's a bacteria. Sorry, it's not a bacteria, it's a microorganism. Sorry, it's a microorganisms. They also cause deterioration, damage to materials such as paper, wood, cotton, leather. You can say they can deteriorate or they can damage materials such as paper, wood, cotton, leather, etc. Microorganisms can also cause the death of plant and animals. Yes, it can cause the death of plants and animals. Now, let's just talk about some ways in which microorganisms can be spread. Some ways in which microorganisms can be spread. Microorganisms can be spread through air. We call them airborne. Airborne, like dust and water droplets in our hair, contain microorganisms such as polio virus, measles virus, pox virus, common cold virus, pneumonia, a bacteria, penicillium, a fungus, etc. So this can be transmitted through the air. We call them airborne microorganisms. Another one is waterborne. Water. Bacteria found in water include Bacillus, Pseudomonas, Vibrio, Azobacter, coliform microorganism, Escherichia coli, Cholera, Salmonella typhi. All these, they are what? They are microorganisms that can be found in water. Like blue-green algae found in water include nostoc, Anabena, and Oscillatoria. Another one is protists in water. Yes, like Chlamydomonas. We have the Euglena, we have the Amoeba. It is all these microorganisms I'm mentioning. They are found in water. Algae include Spirogyra, volvox. Fungi include molds and mildews. All these, they are found in water. Now, another ways in which microorganisms can spread is food. Microorganisms can spread through our food. Most microorganisms in food get in through feces. That's why it is being advised that when you go to the toilet, you have to wash your hand with soap, so that you will know there are some microorganisms that cannot be washed away by ordinary water, that you have to use soap to kill them. Because if you use that same hand to eat your food, you are ingesting microorganisms indirectly. Or when maybe flies has sat on a dead organic matter, and microorganisms will have attached to the feet of that fly, then it comes back on your food. It will automatically enter your food, and without knowing, you might just get to the food and you just eat that food. You've ingested or you've taken in microorganisms. So dirty utensils, that means if you want to use spoon, you wash it. If you want to use a plate, you rinse it with water. And unhygienic habits like you go to toilet without washing your hand, you touch dirty things without washing your hand. All this can transfer microorganism into your food. And vectors like fly, I think I've explained that. Flies, cockroaches, example as Figelasp, Salmonella, Enteriditis, Aspergillus flavus, all these are example of microorganisms that can attack your food. Animal vector or carriers, yes, there are some animals too that can carry microorganisms, like Plasmodium in mosquito. That is a very good example. If mosquito should bite you, you have malaria. Is as a result of the Plasmodium in mosquito that is being transferred to your body system. Personal or direct skin contact with a sufferer, yeah. If someone has a measles, it's been said that if you come in contact with that person, you might have the same type, or use the clothes of this person, you can have measles too. All this hepatitis B, it is being contracted through maybe water, sweat, or you're wearing a cloth of someone that has already contracted that kind of diseases. So this can also be transferred by personal or direct contact with a sufferer. Ways in which microorganisms can enter the body. Ways in which we're still continuing on that. Disease-causing microorganisms can enter the body through body openings, like the mouth, nose, or reproductive opening, through wounds, through bites of other animals, and through blood transfusion. All these are ways in which microorganisms can enter your body, and that's why during this pandemic we are advised to use face shield or nose mask, so that microorganisms, when we talk, if peradventure we touch a surface or someone that has been contaminated with this COVID-19, the microorganism may be in our hand. The only way it can get into our body system is when we touch our hand. We use our hand to touch our eyes, our nose, or our mouth. So if you are using a face shield, there is probability that you might not be able to touch your mouth, touch your nose, so that in such a way that the microorganisms can enter through those openings. So these are the ways in which microorganisms can enter our body system. So important diseases, their causative microorganism, mode of transmission, host, and symptoms are outlined in the tables that is attached to this slide in word format. There are some important diseases that will be attached to this slide. I don't want to put it on this slide, it will be somehow cumbersome. So that's why I make a kind of word format that have these important diseases. Now let's talk about these important diseases and ways that can be contracted. I will be talking about them. I will be mentioning maybe like one or two. The rest are in the word format. You can open the word format and check for yourself, but I'll just be mentioning one or two. We have airborne disease. we have common cold, other airborne diseases, common cold. The causative organism is virus. The mode of transmission is transferred through air, which is airborne. Host is man. And the symptoms, we have high fever, headache, runny nose. We have the chicken pox. We have pox virus. The mode of transmission is airborne. The host is man. And the major symptoms like itchy skin rash. So we have a lot like that under airborne. We have the measles, we have the pneumonia, we have the tuberculosis, we have the meningitis. So you can check the word format that will be attached to this slide to check this. Then we have the food and waterborne disease. Example of food and waterborne disease is the typhoid. We have the typhoid. Let's check the typhoid. The causative organism of typhoid is Salmonella typhi, which is a bacteria. It can be mode of transmission. The ways in which you can contract this typhoid disease is when you take in contaminated food and water. And the host is man. Major symptoms, the symptoms that you notice when you have typhoid disease is high temperature followed by bloody diarrhea. So we have the cholera. We have the cholera. We have the vibrio cholera. Is a bacterium, that is the causative organism. We have food and water, that is mode of transmission. It can be transmitted through food and water. The host is man. And the major symptoms is vomiting and diarrhea. We have food poisoning. We have amoebic dysentery. We have poliomyelitis, infantile paralysis. All those can be seen in the slide, so you can check out for yourself. Another one is vector-borne disease. A vector-borne disease is a disease that is being carried by a living organisms. It's being carried by a living organisms. There's a vector, and the living organism might not even be showing the symptoms. But when the living organisms come in contact with human or other animals, they can contract the disease. Number one here is malaria. I think I talked about malaria. It's caused by the causative organism is Plasmodium. And the mode of transmission, and that Plasmodium is a protozoan. And the mode of transmission is bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. It's only female Anopheles mosquito that can cause malaria. They are the only one that can cause malaria. So when this mosquito bites you, they transfer Plasmodium into your body system, and which might lead to malaria. And the symptoms is high fever, you have shivering, sweating, etc. Another one is sleeping sickness, which is also called trypanosomiasis. Also caused by a pathogenium. And the mode of transmission is when titties fly bite. This is always common in our cattle. Our cattle are the ones that are used to get attacked by this disease. When the titties fly bite them, they tend to have a trypanosomiasis. And the symptoms is fever, headache, sluggishness, drawishness, and uncontrollable sleep. That's why they call it sleeping sickness. Uncontrollable, they will be sleeping all the time. So we have yellow fever, we have plague, we have river blindness. All these are under vector-borne disease. Another one is disease spread by contact. We have the gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is a bacterium. It is being transmitted by sexual intercourse. If you have sexual intercourse by someone that is being attacked with or that is living with that disease, gonorrhea, you have sexual, there is probability to have the same disease. And the host is man. And what you notice when you have a gonorrhea is inflamed urethra, burning sensation during urination. That means you find it difficult to urinate, and thick yellowish discharge in male. When you want to urinate, you just notice that a thick yellowish substance is coming out of your penis. In females, there may be pain during urination, redness around the urinary opening, and vaginal discharge. So we have syphilis. Syphilis is also caused by sexual intercourse. It can also be transmitted by sexual intercourse. Chiponia pallidum is also a bacterium, and the symptoms is a small painless sore in chancre or the penis or vulva. So you have a kind of pain on the vulva or the penis. Mild fever, skin rashes, mouth ulcers, and aches in lymph node regions. It may lead to abortion. In female, attack the brain and cause blindness and insanity. You can see it's a very dangerous disease, syphilis. We have AIDS. We also know of AIDS is human immunodeficiency virus, which is called HIV. That's the causative organism. It also can be through sexual intercourse, blood transfusion, infection sharp instrument, mothers to unborn child, and the host is also man. When you know that when you have this kind of problem, you know that you have what is it called, HIV, or you have AIDS, and you have this is a susceptibility to all microbial infection. That means when anything happens to you, when you have a little disease like this, you just notice when mosquito bite you, you just notice that your antibodies, because what this AIDS does is attack your antibodies, the soldiers in your body. It attack them and weaken them. So anything that is coming into your body like this is just direct. It will just attack you easily without your body fighting back. So high fever, less of weight, you have chronic diarrhea, skin rashes, wasting away of muscles. So all these are probably the types of disease or ways in which we can contract. You can just check this, the word format that will be attached to this slide. You will understand better. You can see this topic is somehow interesting, very, very interesting. Now, at the end of this topic, I think we've come to the end of this topic. But before we go, we need to evaluate ourselves and check maybe we really understand what we've been saying since morning. So I think at the end of this lesson, you should be able to mention or discuss or at least 2 diseases causing microbes. I'm very sure you should be able to do that. You should be able to state the disease caused, the host, the mode of transmission, and the symptoms of this disease. I'm sure you'll be able to do that. Now, the assignment that must be submitted latest by Saturday this week are the following. How do microorganisms gain access to your body? How do microorganisms gain access into the body? You should also describe the stages involved in the growth of inoculated microorganisms. You should discuss or describe the stages involved in the growth of inoculated microorganisms. Number 3, what is a venereal disease? Venereal disease. Check it. What is a venereal disease? Another one is mention 4 venereal disease. 4 venereal disease. Outline 5 ways of controlling venereal disease. 5 ways of controlling venereal disease. Then you read up. I need you to read up. This is the topic that we'll be taking next week. We're taking better health. We're going to talk towards better health. So I need you to read it up before the next class. We will try and discuss some things on this. And I need you to submit this assignment by Saturday. So I think with this, we've come to the end of the lesson. Thank you very much. I see you in next class.